So hi, it's Bruce Rowse here from the Sustainability Education Academy, and I'm really honoured to have with me Lee Stewart, author of the book, How to Build Sustainability into Your Business Strategy, a practical no-nonsense guide for business leaders. Now, Lee's had a stellar career over 20 years in sustainability. He was head of sustainability at the giant dairy company Fonterra, which is New Zealand's largest company, and also head of sustainability at Fujitsu Oceania. Um, and he helped both companies cement sustainability into business as usual. He now heads up ESG strategies, where he advises boards and executives on sustainability and ESG strategies. Now, Lee, whilst today I want to talk to you about careers, I have to say that your book, How to Build Sustainability into Your Business Strategy, is fantastic. I really liked it. What drove you to write the book?
First of all, thanks so much, Bruce. It's so good to hear some great feedback. And look, I suppose there's a number of factors that drove me to write the book, and sheer frustration was probably the key one. And also, in working in large corporate roles, you see a lot of jargon and a lot of language, a lot of frameworks, and almost you see the confusion amongst the executives that you're working with about, my God, what does this all mean? And in some respects, sustainability has been kind of hijacked by sort of environmental purists, and finance sectors and so forth. We want to throw another framework, another acronym at the problem when you can be really, you're just confusing more people. So really what I wanted to write was that what it says on the tin, how to build sustainability business strategy, and cut through all that, strip away all that jargon, and do practical business language book on this. And I wrote it as I was working with one of my key clients, Briscoe Group in New Zealand. So they're a large retailer, a very significant size business listed on the stock exchange. But as you're going through this, the subject matter is relatively new to them. So how do I break down the jargon for the executive I'm working with, for the boards and so forth? And I was regularly testing concepts all the time with them and a couple of other clients who the subject was really new to. So really the desire for that was to make it streamline the process, make it easier for people to understand. The idea is that it's a 3-hour read. You can read it in the weekend, ask questions about your business Monday, Tuesday, and by Friday you might have made some change, some positive change in your business. So I really wanted to just fast track that was the key thing.
Yeah, it's great because at the end of each section, it's got this kind of reflections thing, and you got a few
Yeah,
questions there, and they're not overly complex, and yeah, you kind of present it
yeah,
in a really friendly fashion, which is nice. And I really love the antidotes in the story too and there's different pictures of you, which are
right.
fantastic. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
in the photo in various situations, and you're talking about impacts of climate,
yeah,
and you're there and shoveling dirt after a on
yeah.
your
After a cyclone. Yeah,
after a cyclone,
yeah.
and then you're there with a recycling thing for
The e-waste. Yeah, the
like
smart e-waste bin. Yeah,
e-waste.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's fantastic. And there's a quote right at the start of the book from a guy called James Shaw, who's
yeah,
former climate change minister in New Zealand. Um,
yeah,
and he says, I wish Lee had written this book 25 years ago when I was a budding young sustainability manager in a large corporate. It would have saved us a lot of effort to have had this totally comprehensive how to guide on hand rather than make it up as we did. And I think it's a great summary. And I was just reflecting on it as I read the book. I thought, wow, this guy's really nailed it, because I think it's of use to people working in sustainability as well as the executives, because you've got your methodology is clear and it's fantastic. Yeah. Mm. Um, so so
yeah.
so so for many people, becoming head of sustainability, which is a role that you've held twice, is kind of their dream job. But I want to now talk about your first role in sustainability. Yeah. How did
Yeah.
you get the job? How did you get the job? Your first role in sustainability. What was it?
Well, first role in sustainability, I created a job for myself, actually. It was a startup. So I
Okay.
was, as a young, 20-year-old, go to London, you come back and you think, oh, what am I going to do with my career? I kind of be purpose driven. So I was fortunate enough to team up with another colleague, and we co-founded Change 2, which developed online education around sustainability. And we had some great clients, Lendlease, Suncorp, some larger clients in Australia, and we were developing this content doing okay, did a small capital raise, looking to do a next round, but then a few things happened with climate policies and so forth, and a global financial crisis. So we had to sort of pivot a bit and sort of keep that business going. But that gave me the great foundation because I went to all the conferences, I managed to speak to all the sustainability experts. I got some government funding to go to London to pitch on a sort of a technology pitch around sustainability and tech. So I got a really good grounding of a good 3 or 4 years of hustling into conferences, speaking to experts and stuff, and that was fantastic. It was probably yeah. Looking back, those friends I made and colleagues I made are people I still talk to today. So it was really good, and that was some 20 years ago. So
Wow. Oh, wow. And I
yeah,
think there's still opportunity, lots of opportunity for people to go and do the same thing
yeah,
now.
yeah, definitely, yeah.
Um, so if you look at the jobs market now, the sustainability jobs market now, and also reflecting on your career and others that you see working in this space, what do you see as the key skills that are now most in demand?
Yeah, no, I've really honed this in because I've set up graduate programs in large corporates and hired and actually had to let go a lot of sustainability people throughout careers and stuff. But one thing that resonates really closely when I look at CVs, when I'm interviewing people, when I want people on my team, um, curiosity is really key because it's not black and white. There's no yes or no sort of answers. A curiosity about learning about why is this like this, or and the ability to get behind out from behind your desk into the field of, especially if you're a large company, go see your source of emissions, go see where your social impact's happening, go talk to customers, go understand it a bit more. Don't just be stuck and take things for granted. So the curiosity mindset and the ability to ask really pointy questions, open-ended questions to get more information. That's what I really like. I look for people that will actually research these things themselves, come up with sort of ideas. So that's really key. There is a key foundation you obviously need around understanding the knowledge and so forth. Um, but then again, if you're looking at sustainability, obviously you've got key specialist skills you need if you're going to go on specialist roles, climate risk and adaptation and energy efficiency or social and stuff. Well, what I really looked at too is the ability to manage projects and programs and the communication skills that have to wrap around that. So you're going in there, you might be running a net zero program for a business, trying to get that in there. How do you communicate that with different stakeholders? So if you're talking to finance, there's a different message that's going on if you're talking to HR and sales. The ability to learn and adapt around that and communicate is really key.
That's in your book too, Miss Bowman. Just going back to your book, you've got
Yeah,
this
yeah,
section here where you
yeah,
have kind of different questions for different
yeah. You
areas
break
of the
down the
business.
roles. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you
Because if
break
you're in a
down the
large company,
roles.
you got the silos of HR, sales, marketing,
Yeah,
finance, and all the
yeah,
procurement and stuff. So there's different messages resonate with them and different skill sets are needed in those roles too. So yeah,
yeah. And it's really interesting. You're talking here about skills that could come from other areas. So curiosity,
yeah,
not exclusive to sustainability,
yeah,
communication skills aren't
yeah,
exclusive to sustainability, project management skills aren't exclusive to sustainability, um,
yeah,
which I think is good news. And I've got a question a bit
mm,
about that later
yeah,
about
yeah.
related to that. But um, before I do that, I just want to ask what if we look forward, and the world's changing really quickly, and I know you've got an interest in AI because you talk about it in your
Yeah,
book. Um,
yeah.
looking forward, what skills do you see as kind of being uh, in demand going forward in the future? Um,
Yeah, definitely. There's always, I know there's technology coming in play, but you're always going to need that translation piece to the business of deep
yeah,
technical sustainability knowledge and what that
yeah,
means to business. And when I look back at my career, I've bridged that gap as the translator to
yeah,
that. So the ability to facilitate, communicate, understand technical knowledge, but how does that impact the business or what's the business opportunity there? We love to delve into risk mitigation. That's an important part, but I really want to flip it on its head because there's an opportunity for business to do that. And that's where I believe the winners of the next generation of businesses are those that take sustainability as an opportunity, not as a threat. So
yeah.
that's the sort of mindset that I see shifting and the opportunity there. So those are the skill sets, being able to understand that. I even look at some of the best sustainability people I've hired have actually had some sales backgrounds, have communication skills and so forth around that. Another one's had a really good business and environment double degree major, one of the few. So that's been really interesting, those sort of people as well. But yeah, the ability to communicate and get on with other humans is pretty key.
Yeah. In many endeavors, but
Yeah,
particularly I think this one
yeah,
where a lot of it's about influencing, persuading,
yeah,
and educating also because
yeah,
it is a complex area and people are confused, like you said at the
yeah,
very start.
yeah,
GRI, IFRS.
yeah.
Oh,
Alphabet soup. It just goes
yeah,
on
yeah.
and
It
on.
goes on and
Yeah,
on and on.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
We love our acronyms in this space.
yeah.
So, um, looking back on your career to date, what are you really, really proud of? What
Yeah.
is it one? Can you just talk about one project or one something where you got a lot of pride in that project?
Yeah, when I talk about a project, probably one thing I was proud of was to get, when I was working at Fujitsu, to get the first energy efficiency neighbors rated in Australia data center. That was immensely technical, challenging, political, had everything in it. But then to grow and get the first portfolio of that and to actually start benefiting the business with increasing revenue, growing new customers, and saving money. It was actually quite a really good case study that took a couple of years in the planning to do that. When I was at Fujitsu, we had 6 data centers and all the energy use is more than a small nation in the Pacific, the amount of pollution, starting to get energy efficiency, public ratings of that, and improvement plans in place. And that helped win new business. So that was something I'm immensely proud of. And the legacy of that is actually ongoing. So that's quite cool.
Yes. So to get to that point, kind of the skills
Yeah.
that you deployed, what were the skills that you used to achieve that?
Yeah, it was immensely influencing. So you had to learn deep technical knowledge a little bit to understand that. But what I did was actually resonate with the voice of the customer. So we looked at some of the key clients that we had, their sustainability targets, what are they trying to achieve? And their scope three, their hosting of our data center energy portfolio is quite a significant chunk of their emissions. So, and it was largely unmanaged. So getting them on board to say, yes, we'd like you to go ahead with this. And then also winning that first big account and them calling it out, it was because you had the energy efficiency rating was actually maybe get the impetus to actually get more funding to do the rest. So being able to align sustainability with your customer and understand if you're working in a large company, understand where money comes in. How can you help influence that with sustainability and support the business? So it's a value add, value creation.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's
Yep.
coming in with some business acumen,
Yep.
looking for opportunities, kind of having that sales impact
Yep.
instead of thinking, oh no, it's a climate emergency and you've got to,
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah. Oh,
go into panic mode and just talking about
yep.
all the bad things that could happen.
Yeah. And I sort of say that pure altruism gets you the conversation, but won't get you the action.
Yeah.
Um, the business, the dollars, aligning it to a client and being customer centric will, because no matter what you say as the internal sustainability person, the business is not going to listen to you as much as the major customer will ever. And that's
Yeah.
probably quite rightly so, because you need to have money coming in. So educating your customer to say the right things back to you is also a skill that I've used as well to help influence that. So, the casual coffees and stuff like that. Oh, I see you've got your climate target. Would it be useful if we had something similar? Or how would we help you? Those sort of questions are very, very key.
Yeah. So it's just keep going back to your conversation about curiosity. It's about curiosity about what your client's doing, um,
Yep.
and then saying back to your company, "Hey, our client's doing this. Our client wants this. Yeah,
Yep.
how
Yep.
can we move forward with that?" Yeah,
And even in some cases, the most successful time, I've got out of the way of that conversation and decided to not attend the board meeting and said, let's just hear from a customer. I don't need to be in the room. You guys hear
yeah,
from the client. They're going to tell you what they want from sustainability. And I'm not going to be
yeah,
in there to influence it. Hear
yeah,
straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak, is another tactic that's been very useful.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So, the kind of continuing on this space of the skills you need. I see many people looking that the pathway into a sustainability job is one that involves first getting a degree. So maybe they'll go back to uni and they'll go and do a master's, um, or getting some sort of certification. So, typically people talk about lead, about anything.
Yeah.
People talk about lead, which is a very narrow certification, actually.
Yeah.
So what's your perspective on this theory that the only way you can get into sustainability is to go and study more, um, and to get a certification?
Um,
Yeah,
Totally disagree with it, but I do see
yeah,
the value, obviously, in degrees in education and so forth.
yeah,
Um, my concern is we don't have time, and by the time you've done a 4-year degree, it's completely changed. The
yeah,
market's changed. I would employ you to have, if you've got good project management skills, or if you work in a company that doesn't have a sustainability program,
yeah,
or put your hand up and go do the free greenhouse gas protocol course and say, I'll do the company first carbon footprint. It won't be perfect, but I'll have a crack at it. Would you like me to do that? Um,
yeah,
or if you've got a sustainability team, I'm guarantee they're under resourced and would like a hand. Maybe just pick up the phone and have a chat to them saying, I want to get in the subject matter area. What can I help you with? Here are my skills. I'm a project manager. I'm in sales. I'm in marketing. What do you need a hand with that I could probably do just on the side a bit to help you out and to learn? And so you
yeah.
get the practical doing skills. All right.
So on that veins, I'm guessing you have a farming background. I don't know. Your parents are farmers, is that right?
Oh
Or
no, no, I grew up in New Zealand, so it's hard to avoid a farm. We've got cousins on the
yeah,
farm and
yeah,
stuff like that. But
animal
yeah,
farm stuff
yeah,
like that. So you stay
yeah,
with your cousins at school holidays sometimes, stuff like
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah,
Central
yeah.
Otago, New Zealand, awesome. Yeah,
Yeah. The,
yeah,
the reason I'm going down this track is you've kind of got this practical bent, and perhaps coming from a somewhat similar background, it's kind of this can-do attitude. I'll have a go. I'll have a go at it. But 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 unfortunately, I'm seeing some people don't. I don't know. Don't necessarily have that self-confidence or whatever to
yeah,
try. They think,
yeah,
oh, I can't do anything. I don't know anything about it.
yeah,
Do you have any advice on overcoming that kind of fear of
yeah. And
failure or yeah, yeah,
it's one of the drivers of writing the book too, by the way, Bruce, is to just get out there and do it. Learn by doing is far more practical. I've been on the other side when I've got a young grad come out, has got all the great degrees, great marks, hasn't done a project in a business, when I've got a senior project manager who's done a carbon footprint. I'll be leaning towards a senior project manager almost, depending on the role, what you needed, because you've got
yeah,
practical, you've done stuff. So what I would say, if you've come out of, say, of a degree and you don't have the practical experience, volunteer, do things, just learn by doing. There's certain things that everyone needs a hand with, an NGO or a school or something that adds to something. So you can to help them do a waste audit, you can help them do a social impact assessment, you can help them do a materiality assessment that they've never done. Do something. Just learn by doing, and from that, you'll gain the skills and confidence. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be done out there. You can pick any company, and I'm sure if you have inroad to that, they might be open to that, to helping, letting you loose on the certain things, or maybe getting you have access to certain data to carbon footprint, or come up with an idea to solve a certain problem. I do think there's a lot of opportunity out there.
yeah, yeah. And so there might also be people who don't have sustainability in their job title.
Yeah.
But they're passionate about it. So, what would your advice to be them about bring that passion to their existing job when it's not in their job
Yeah.
description?
Yeah, yeah. Well, have a look at what you do, what skills you have,
Yeah,
and what do you want to learn? What are you actually passionate about? And does that translate into you actually picking up a book or doing a short course or actually going online and researching about it? So
yeah,
understand what you're leaning towards. Is it the social side of things? There's a lot you can research on that. Is it environment? So all the just different angles you can look at. So you might want to just say, okay, specialize. Say, I'm really annoyed with plastic waste. All right. That really gets me. I go to the beach, I see it, I've been on holidays, really annoys me. What's my company doing about it? So go in there and ask a few questions, have a look at your waste bins and talk to the environment person, or if there's no one there, say, hey, can I help out with a waste audit? Google some stuff. There's some good tools you can use. Go out there and just have a look at it, and maybe there's a couple of policies you can Google and have a look at. Maybe want to, how can I help the company develop their first waste policy? These are certain very simple things that you can do with a few hours of knowledge and work and a few conversations.
yeah. So, and then possibly, have you ever seen anyone kind of start out that way and then actually
Yeah, yeah,
end up in
absolutely.
running
Yep,
sustainability
absolutely.
in that
I've
organization?
I've
Yeah,
hired those people into my teams. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah,
because
yeah,
we were recruiting and I managed to get, very rarely I managed to get extra headcount. I'd look
mm,
internally for, depending on the role, you look internally first, someone who's well networked across a large business, and
yeah,
they might have been part of the volunteer green team or something or doing something. These are the first people I'd reach out to, say, hey, I've got this role coming up. Are you interested?
yeah, yeah. And you mentioned the word networked, well networked across the business.
Yeah.
So you,
Yeah.
you, you see that as being a pretty important skill, being able to,
Oh, totally.
yeah, yeah,
Totally. So many sustainability people I see get stuck in the head office,
yeah,
um, and trying to dream up ideas of how to solve problems when they don't get out on the factory floor and see the problems for themselves.
yeah,
So it's taking you to some really bizarre places such as landfills, factory sites, coal-fired power stations, everything. But go and see for yourself. And the people on the ground there generally know how to solve the problem, but probably haven't been listened to and have tried and given up or just do their job. Spend some time with them. There's a lot of experience there that's untapped.
yeah, 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 yeah. And it's, being an engineer myself, engineers,
Yeah.
we kind of can suffer from that arrogance a bit because we think, did you know that I forget the statistic, it's something like 95% of engineers think they're smarter than the rest of the engineers.
Yeah. Yes.
So,
Yeah.
so, 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 but,
So
but, but I
just
see this as well. People just
yeah.
love there to theorize and come up with solutions.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've even been guilty of this myself, rather than you just go out there and
Have a
talk
chat to
with
people.
people. And,
Yeah.
and often they've got the solution
Yep.
themselves,
Yep. Yep.
they've had the ideas. And like you said, maybe they're frustrated, but they're
Yeah.
happy someone's listening to them finally.
Oh, yeah. And reflection, there's a few of these, and this one's not in the book, but there's a few of the mistakes there that I don't want people to make. But one of the worst mistakes I did, I had to deal with a diesel spill, but I didn't go to the site till 6 months later. I should have just gone the next day. But it was the other end of the country and it took transport stuff, but I should have just made a case to just go. I know,
Yeah,
and it would have saved me a lot of time. Go see it for myself, talk to people. Right, what do we need to do to clean this up rather than talk to the environment manager locally, work with head office. It just took so much more time when I should have just made the case to go there, you know,
yeah, yeah,
straight away.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, if we look now at the kind of the top of the level of kind of what many people aspire to, which is the role of being a chief sustainability officer or head of sustainability. What skills do you think are needed at that level, at that kind of that, you know, that
Oh, geez.
that high level?
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
like communication is very key. Board presentations, it depends on your board and the executive, but they do require some certain skills of how you massage and um, manage these messages up and education of the board. So it's strategic thinking is really key there, especially if you've got some crunchy targets that the board's got to set in the next 6 to 12 months or even sometimes shorter time frames. How are you going to compress that learning and education of those key decision makers, and how are you going to lay the breadcrumbs of information to get to your decision? So one of the biggest, mistakes I've ever made going to a board is going to the board when I'm not really confident. That's what I talk about the framework in the book. They don't really know what a carbon is, and they're trying to ask them to set a science-based target. It's not going to work. You need to have some warm-up sessions, some readings, and you need to lay the breadcrumbs of what are the competitors doing, what is the government doing, what are other people around the world doing. So we're not way out there in front. This is normal. This is doable. This is safe, because 90% of the board members, this is all new to them, right? And scary. So you got to put yourself in those sort of shoes. So those are sort of the key things, and the ability to talk at all levels of the business, and not be afraid to, if you're a head of sustainability, you got the authority to pick up the phone and talk to anyone in the company, right? And you should use that. Don't just go and then there's other ways you can actually get in front of people by materiality assessments. You can make sure you interview every board member and executive, so you get one-on-one time, using that strategically to understand where everyone's at. I've mentally mapped where all the board and executive are on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of sustainability decision, and decided I've got 6 months to move the majority to a 7 or an 8 on this when they're about a 3. So what do I need to do? So you've got to use those sort of political nous and communication and delegation too, because man, you can't do everything, and your team is probably the smallest team with the biggest biggest thing on their shoulders. You've got to be able to have a good governance model that you're delegating other parts of the business, and other executives have got to be accountable for, such
Yeah,
as energy targets or social targets or HR targets and stuff. You cannot, when you walk in the room and the room's full of it, everyone suddenly goes, oh, don't worry, Lee's in the room or sustainable head of sustainability in the room. We don't have to do anything. No, it's, you got to make sure that they're still accountable for what they've got to do, right? You can't do everything for everyone. It just won't happen. And you end up burning out, which I have numerous occasions. You take it on, because we're all very altruistically driven. Where something else drives us. It's not the money. It's the impact we want to have. And you see it not happening, and you go, okay, well, I'll take that on, and you keep taking on more and more, and it just yeah, you end up breaking at times.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I think that can often be driven by this kind of extreme sense of urgency. Um,
correct. Yeah,
but to be effective, you probably better to take your time, build those relationships.
yep,
Um,
yep,
Once you've built the relationships and you've got the board at say that 7 level, then
yeah,
they're going to be likely, happier for you to be delegating tasks that otherwise may not have
yeah,
been able to delegate
yeah, yeah,
because they don't understand it. Yeah, so I could see,
yeah,
yeah, it's kind of
yeah,
a gradual process rather than necessarily a, a,
yeah,
a rush process. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, okay, so um, what if someone came to you and was kind of in a situation where they feel that society, the world is in a terrible place, that the whole capitalist paradigm is kind of wrong.
Mm.
Um, uh, so what can they do? What would and we see there's some people like this that there's a very kind of negative that all the way everything runs is not great and it's totally unsustainable. Um, what's going to be your response there in terms of that person thinking about their career and I guess wanting to just um, have massive change and not necessarily incremental change? Mhm.
Yeah, it's going to be hard.
Yeah,
It depends on what you're doing, obviously, in the context and so forth. But someone who's coming in there who you're seeing it a lot. You're seeing it a lot. People around my age and maybe a bit older suddenly realize, hey, my career, what have I done? I need to do good. Suddenly pivot on a very quickly and say, right, I need to run off and do all this stuff. Just learn more before diving in head first and just disrupting and blowing up your network. All right. Um, Learn and ask and have good conversations with other experts in other fields and saying, this is what I want to do. What does this sound like? Don't just go in there all guns blazing and so forth, and you'll just obliterate your whole political capital, everything you've got, and you'll just be known as that sort of random person that just wants all the stuff done immediately without understanding a real problem in the context of that. So just take your time a little bit to do that. The other thing is, you see a lot of these individuals come in and they're sort of fear driven, and they suddenly see the light, and they can't understand why everyone else doesn't see what they see. You've got to understand that there are people like you and me who've been there 20 years before you as well, and there's a lot to unpack and a lot to learn. So spend some time with some other people who've been around a bit longer as well and understand the frustrations and problems they have. You might be able to help unlock some of that for them. So partnerships, collaboration are key. No one person, no one company, no one country can solve it all alone. So look at how your network and your sphere of influence and how you can collaborate and help there better rather than just going out as the lone soldier on a hill, staking your claim. Bring others with you or go with others. And you might have to swallow your ego a little bit too, right? But think of the greater outcome.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's really really good.
Mm.
Resonating with me a lot of this.
Yeah.
The the
Yeah. I'm
the
sure.
the,
Yeah.
the then kind of related to that is what I term people who green and gold is how I put it. So they think green is gold. They think
Yeah.
I'm going to get into green and I'm going to make gold. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's this, and I'm sure you've seen this as well. People new to the space, they come in, yeah, we're going to do this, and we're going to make so much money out of it. Do you have any kind of advice for people who are looking at sustainability as a way of becoming really wealthy?
Yeah, it's mainly a lot of the stuff around the clean tech and smart tech sort of stuff. I get a lot of that stuff. I think, hey, we've got this thing to solve carbon emissions, and we need to go do it. Let's get on do it. Have is it working practically somewhere? Get a pilot up and running. Don't just think it. You can come up with these ideas, but the practicality of it, I've seen it fall over so many times. To the point, I'll let you know, Bruce. I've had one of my roles. I used to have almost one a month come and talk to me about a new carbon tool and how it could save my time and help save the world when I could not get the company to actually use a spreadsheet yet. So so
Yeah,
these are sort of the real world practical elements that you need to understand. If you think you're going to make a quick buck, really good luck to you. Some of them have, and they've done really well, and I really applaud them for that. Um, think about what is the real benefit you're going to have to business, and how does that translate into revenue, really, dollar savings and stuff. That's where the green becomes the gold, and I've seen very few of those. But I don't want to discount them. I do feel that technology and enablement of technology is the future way to go. But if you look at the three circles that I've spoken about in a few other conferences, you've got people, technology, and sustainability. I do think sustainability and technology can solve most of the problems today. It's the people element that's the problem. We aren't adopting it. We aren't using it practically. We don't know. We're too scared. So we need to work on that sort of change management of people. When I
yeah,
think about you with your energy efficiency background, we see stuff all the time that we're not fixing, but we'd rather go and build a new project that will have a similar amount of savings. But it's kind of like energy efficiency is not sexy or anything, and we still can't do that properly. So that's one of my bugbears as well.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
just going back to the
Yeah.
skills
Sorry.
conversation,
Yeah.
the skills there are
Yeah.
you just highlighted again are those
Yeah.
influencing and those
Yeah.
people skills
Yeah.
that
Yep.
that are so important in being able to work with people, move people,
Yep.
educate people. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yep. Definitely.
yeah, yeah. So going back to tech, since you and I seem to both like tech, the
Yep.
film Back to the Future features a
Oh.
DeLorean as a time machine.
Yep.
Um, yeah, and now there's actually an electric version of the DeLorean available. Yeah. So
Oh.
so
Nice. Yep.
imagine if you jumped into this electric DeLorean, but it took you back 20 years ago when you were starting out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what would you say to your younger self back then? Yeah.
Don't. Oh, look, it's hard. Don't take it all on for yourself. There's times when you thought, and even just in the last few years, you I took on a company role and I said, I'm going to solve this, all the emissions. It's too much for one person. Um, so go easy on yourself would be my thing. I've been very hard on myself, and that's to the detriment of your own personal critic. So go easy on yourself, um, but spend more time talking, networking, which I've done a lot of, but I think I could do a bit more of, and building that cohort of core people, which I've got, which I could love to keep growing, but that network of people that stuck with me for 10, 15, now some of them 20 years have been gold to bounce ideas off, to pick you up when you're down, and so forth. There's a really good sustainability community that you can tap into, and even if you're competitors, I found they can talk to them quite easily about certain things as well. So that's, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Great. Uh, is there anything else that you think that it's important that people who are looking at sustainability careers in anything else that you're any other advice that you'd give other than what we've covered already?
Yeah, there's a lot of information out there. But there's a lot of really good courses that weren't around 10, 15 years ago. I always say try to do something every year to stay current. A course or a conference or something, getting out of your comfort zone a little bit, learning some new skills. You can always learn more, and I'm learning more about presentation skills and doing that. To be ability to nail a message through a presentation will never go away, and you could always do better. So that's one skill you could always keep honing on, whether it's just joining Toastmasters or practicing presentation skills, landing your messages. Because what I've seen, a lot of sustainability professionals are very good and technically, but when they do a 5 minute presentation to a conference or a board, they just can't do it. So think about your hour presentation. Can you nail it in 5 minutes? And what would that be? That would be my challenge to you, is to try really get really crisp on your messaging and communication.
Yeah. Yeah, the world's certainly changed heaps kind
Mm.
of in my lifetime. Pre-internet, I remember I'd want to learn something and I have to order a book and it'd take ages
Yep.
to arrive. And yeah,
Yep.
so I wouldn't
Yep.
stock it. And then you'd study the book really thoroughly because that was the only access knowledge
Yeah.
you had.
Yep.
And
Yep.
then nowadays I look at my kids and they don't, oh, I really
Yeah.
realize how lucky we are. It's so easy to be
Yeah.
able to learn something now.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Great. And speaking of learning, let's finish up by talking about your book. And you've got a great offer, I think, Lee.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're offering to send anyone a signed copy of your book, How to Build Sustainability into a Business Strategy, if they make some sort of review of the book or some sort of comment.
Oh,
Um,
or if they,
yeah,
yeah, or if they just comment on your LinkedIn channel, why would
yeah,
they like a copy of the book?
what,
Just got one
yeah,
here. And if you want,
yeah,
I can put a personal message and send it to you anywhere in the world.
yeah.
Love to hear your feedback on it as well, whether it helps you in your job. So yeah, happy to get that out there.
Yeah, that's great. Fantastic. Okay. Thank you so much, Lee. I really appreciate your time today, sharing your experience and wisdom gained over many years and trying many things and going out there and just trying it, which is one of the greatest ways to learn. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Bruce. It's great to be here.